wanted to thank everybody to being here, and I especially wanted to thank our contributor and guests, some very impactful leader in our industry, and today being International Women's Day, I really wanted to connect everyone. And I'm very happy to already see that some of you already started to chat. So yeah, so I don't want to take too much of my time talking, but thank you everyone for being here. If you can do a quick introduction of yourself, 30 seconds, I would call it the elevator speech, just to introduce yourself. I will start. Cynthia, do you want to do the starting?
Sure, I'll start.
All right, perfect.
First off, thank you so much, Tomas, for having us here. I think it's incredible what you're doing, trying to connect, people in the industry, women in the industry. My name is Cinziana Yodake. I'm a hyper-realist artist based in Toronto, Canada. And I specialized in very detailed drawings of timepieces celebrating craftsmanship and details.
All right, beautiful. And you have a beautiful artwork that yeah, my son is getting very inspired of you, and he's 10 years old, but he's already starting to.
That's great.
So, but no competition, trust me. But he's practicing. Caroline, do you mind?
So I'm Caroline Ziraxere now. When I was in the watch business, I was Caroline Feve, my maiden name. I was 28 years in the watch industry, mainly at Swatch Group US. I was CEO of Swatch Group US Canada and the Caribbean. And now I've left the watch industry, but not completely, because I have been appointed at the Cultural Council of the Fédération de la Haute Horologerie. So I still have a little foot in the door in the watch industry, and I teach now strategy and management to MBA students, and I sit on some boards, not in the watch industry, actually in the medical industry. So completely different. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess Switzerland's well known for watches and medical.
I know. I was looking for chocolate because I figured out watches and chocolate that would make more sense, but I didn't find it. I will find a board in the chocolate business. I will at some point.
Sharon, what about yourself?
Sure. So my connection with the watch industry actually started via Caroline. I was the U.S. president for Tissot. Well, North America and the Caribbean, as she just described. I was there for about 8 years, enjoyed that time very much. And then I was managing director for the Americas for watches and jewelry at Gucci. So there it was all the way down to Patagonia. Since then, I've always been in the luxury industry. I've actually never had an American boss, never worked for an American company. So that's kind of an interesting experience. And currently I am also serving on multiple boards. I'm very active with the French American Chamber of Commerce, LEF, which is the Luxury Education Foundation. I'm on the board of Marist University, and I'm working also with the NRF, the National Retail Foundation. So it's, we're not bored.
Yeah, I guess you're not busy at all.
It's I don't have to get up and be at the office at 9 o'clock on the dot every day, but yes.
Well, sometimes earlier when you have your grandkids.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
No, when you work for European companies or you're working with European companies, you do have to start earlier. Yeah.
What about Celine?
Hi, everyone. So nice to see some very familiar face that I haven't seen for a long time. Caroline, Sharon, hi. Hi, Thomas. Thank you so much for having us today. So I'm Celine Gainsbourg-Ray. I've actually started at Watch Group as well in 2006. So almost 20 years ago. I spent 15 years in the watch industry. So I started with Breguet. Then I was sales and marketing manager for Breguet. Then I moved to Jacques Edreau. I was the North America brand director. And then after that, I moved back to Paris to another HQ. Actually, I worked with Howard Passion for 3 or 4 years. I was the sales and marketing director worldwide, taking care of all of the buying for all of the 55 point of sales that we had, I think, at the time. And then after these few years, I moved to Turkey, and I was the country manager for Jaeger-LeCoultre. So I switched from Swatch Group to Richemont. Worked there for 3 years. So I was managing Turkey, Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. Very, very fascinating territories. Learn a lot. And I left the watch industry in 2018, so 7 years ago. Since then, I launched my own consulting agency. I was working with emerging brands, mainly brands that always had something to do with artisanal craftsmanship, so with some jewelry brands, leather brands, etc., taking care of their branding strategy. And in the last 2 years, I think my passion has shifted to art, actually. So now I work for art agency. We are based in Paris, although I'm based in Washington, D.C., and I'm in charge of partnership between artists, contemporary artists, and luxury brands. So I
Oh,
still
wow.
have a foot. I've always had a foot in the luxury industry, and actually my ambition is to find some also watch brands that we can partner with emerging artists. That would be great.
Hopefully somebody is watching right now and they can reach
Yes,
out to you.
exactly.
I on the article and on the different social media, I put the LinkedIn from everybody that I contributed. So it's all about connecting. So we never know. That's how you
Yeah,
start,
we
right?
never know exactly. Yeah.
That's how you start. So yeah, and quick intro for myself. So Thomas, I was with Hamilton Watches for 12 years. I was very lucky and blessed to be welcome in the industry through Caroline's time when she was the country manager for North America, so Canada, US, and I love every moment and every second of each day. But then I had some personal challenges, and in our life, and obviously everybody had the whole COVID hit. And so when COVID hit, I decided to go back to school. I did a master in business, and during my first year, I studied our industry. I really wanted to go deep into the numbers, understanding retailers, brands, and also end consumer. And after 1 year of doing that, I decided, you know what, I'm 39 years old. I had some challenges that happened. For example, one of the challenges that I love to communicate now that is in the past is we had to go through IVF with my wife, and miraculously our daughter happened naturally after 5 years of trying. So when something hit like that, you're like, oh wow, now I can achieve anything in life. And so that's why I decided to go back to school. That's why I decided to throw the dice and launch my business. And basically, the idea of my business is just connecting people, connecting brands on the B2B level, and connecting people with aficionados on the B2C level, and just exploring opportunities to connect, chat, learn from each other. Something that you will maybe hear me often say is that I don't consider myself, even though I'm in the industry for a long time, and obviously a lot of you have been in the industry for longer, I don't consider myself as expert, because I always believe that every day there's something that you can learn, and there's always somebody that know more about a specific topic. And so for me, it's just my love is to connect people. That's why we're here, and and I'm taking and by the way, happy International Women's Day, everyone. But I'm taking this opportunity to just connect with everybody that I knew in the past and that I didn't know. That it's a pleasure to meet. So that's a little bit of myself. So coming back on that, and obviously I had a little bit of question, and it's again an open conversation, and feel free. And I obviously realized that since Yana, you obviously have a little bit of a different approach, because you draw, you're an artist. But all the questions are not just jewelry, watches industry. It's life in general, and leadership, and any industry. So feel free to answer. So one question, my first question that I had is reading about the article and reading about all the answers from everybody. I realized that some of you, most of you, I will say, not fell in the watch industry, but that was not like, oh, okay, I'm a passionate and I want to do that, and I'm 20 years old and I love the thing. It's most of you looking at the industry is because you met somebody that that guide you or saw something about you, and you started as an intern, you started as a entry level in the company, and then slowly you grow. So my first question to you is, will you be able to share with us, maybe you can name somebody, or maybe you don't have to name, but will you be able to come back in time, a memory lane a little bit, and just think about this 1 or 2% individual that throughout the years give you maybe this chance, this opportunity. Yeah. So who's first?
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I did not start out in the watch industry, to your point. I was actually at one point CEO for Lalique for North America. And it was a time when the home industry was slowing down and we had to find another niche for that. And so they began to do jewelry. Couldn't talk them into watches, but we did some jewelry and some watches, but they were not at the level of the brand. And while I was there, a couple reached out to me who now have also a jewelry business, but they were Links of London. And that's kind of how I ended up in the watch and jewelry business for real. They came to me and said, listen, we're doing a startup. We already are working in London and in Asia, but not in the US. So would you be willing to do a startup? And it was truly like entrepreneurial, like you talk about. I hired 6 interns, 3 from Columbia, 3 from Parsons, right brain, left brain. And we built the business and sold the month before the crash in 2008. Yeah, which was very lucky. But there we introduced watches as well. And then from there I went to Tissot. So it's that was an interesting way to come. I didn't go looking for it. It came to me via this entrepreneurial opportunity where I had an equity position and all that.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
They now have a brand called Anushka, which is her name. She sold Links of London, but kept her name. So then Anushka, and if you look it up, it's pretty cool.
Okay, Anushka sounds like a Polish name potentially.
Yes, she's an MBA. She's a member of the British Empire, but yes, it is an Russian actually.
Oh, Russian. Okay.
Yeah.
My mom's Polish, so I'm French.
Okay.
So that's right. Okay, Céline, what about yourself?
Yeah, so totally random as well, I would say. I mean, although I knew I wanted to be in the luxury industry, I had completed my MBA at Sub de Luxe in Paris. I had just moved to the US, actually to New York, to work at Bernardo, so very similar competitor to Lalique in some extent, or same industry, let's say. And I moved there. I was 22 years old. It was my first real job, and everything was great. I had a French boss, so I was like, okay, I'm here. Everything seemed very stable. And one day to another, my boss got fired, the CEO of Bernardo at that time. And I was basically kind of left there alone. And basically, my former intern director was Neil Thierry or Neil Boris. Told me, Céline, you should really talk to my husband. He's the brand president for Breguet. He's looking for a sales coordinator at Breguet. I was like, well, I don't really know anything about watches. I barely knew what was the difference between a manual and an automatic watches. So really starting from scratch. And I say, I don't know if I'm willing to just change my job right now. I just arrived in New York. But anyway, it doesn't cost anything to meet him. So I met him. And basically start there. So I also thank Jean-Marc Boris for that introduction. I joined his team, and climbed my way there from sales coordinator, became sales and marketing, and then took over the department. And then I really want to thank also Caroline Feve, who is here today, because then she was really my mentor for my other step with Jacques Edreau when Jean-Marc left Swatch Group. So really enjoyed this year working at Swatch Group. I spent 10 years at Swatch Group. And I think the best memories I have from the watch industry are with Swatch Group, really.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned Caroline, so I guess we can go to Caroline.
Sure. So my experience is a little bit different because I wanted to work in finance. I was convinced that I was going to work in finance and do mergers and acquisition. I was really good with numbers and I enjoyed it. All my professors were behind me. I interviewed with many banks, got many offers, but I hated every single minute, not every single hour, every single minute of every interview. People were arrogant. They only wanted to talk to me about how much money they made and how much more money they made than somebody else. It was horrible. So I spoke to my dad, and my dad said, "But remember, you did an internship at Swatch in Switzerland, and they wanted to hire you at some point, but you didn't want to." And I was like, "Yeah, that's true." And he said, "And you loved it. Every day you loved it." Like I was working extra hours all the time because I loved the projects. So I reached out to them again and I said, "Hey, do you still want to hire me, but in the US?" And they said, "Yeah, sure. We'll have a job for you." And they offered me either Hamilton or Omega. And to everybody's surprise, I took Hamilton because
Yes.
the Omega job sounded really boring. It was something, I don't know what it was, but it sounded boring. So I wanted to be in Hamilton. It was international. It was the headquarters at the time. So I worked at the Hamilton headquarters, where I became at one point VP sales of Hamilton. Then I moved to Rado in the US, and then I took over Swatch Group US. But one thing I'd like to mention about how people come in the industry, one of my frustration was that everybody always thought that you had to hire somebody who already knew all the retailers, all the brands, and so on. And I think that in my tenure, I did barely hired anybody from another watch brand. Like Sharon, no offense to Lynx, but I didn't really
Yeah.
consider that as a
Oh, it wasn't a watch
big
brand,
watch
no.
brand. And
Yeah.
I remember when I hired, for example, Sharon, the big question from Switzerland was, does she really know watches? I said, it doesn't matter. Even if she's not a specialist on watches, she knows retail, she knows X, she knows Y. That's the most important thing. And I think that our industry has always had this kind of incestuous relationship between brands. It's like we want to hire salespeople from that brand. And I think that's been a little bit of detriment to this fantastic industry because we didn't take enough new ideas, enough new proposal, whether it is for design. I'm sure it's the same thing with designing watches. They always take people who have already designed for Vacheron. Now they have to design for Breguet, from this one to this one, instead of opening it up and looking at something that's completely different. I hired another great woman who couldn't come here, who handled Swatch, and she didn't come from the watch industry at all. And again, I was questioned by headquarters, but she doesn't know watches. It doesn't matter. You don't have to know the product. You have to come in with a leadership ability and so on. And that I think is a big issue still now in the watch industry.
Okay, I really appreciate it. Just one thing. So you saw my daughter; she jumped in, and I just want
Yes.
to say hi to my son.
Hi.
Hi.
The reason why we're all here today is because of these two. So that's why
Okay.
I just want to
Hi.
go watch your YouTube. Sorry, good parenting.
Yeah, exactly.
And Cynthiana, what about yourself? How did you start in the drawing? And obviously, tell me if I'm wrong, but you didn't start with watches first. And what was your first inspiration? Is it somebody? Is it you just with pen and paper? How did you start?
It's interesting because obviously I have a very different story than all the ladies here. I've never per se been in the watch industry other than working with watch brands, but it started all the way from childhood. I was the kind of girl that grew up reading car magazines, and the father that was obsessed with cars and watches. So I've always been attracted to mechanical things, detailed things. But I started drawing fairly early on, and I did portraits for a very, very long time.
Okay.
And once I reached my university years, I went and studied architecture, interior design later on, and I took a break from drawing as a passion. It was all about technical drawings, and I think that's where it became to shift. And once I finished university, I started my practice, and COVID hit, and it was a lot of shutdown in the sense that all of a sudden, all our projects were on pause. I felt like I needed a bit of a return to drawing. And it just so happened that right before COVID, I was in Dubai for vacation, and I walked into the Mad Gallery and I saw this exquisite MBNF pieces, but it wasn't just the timepiece. It was Gabby Werman that was having all these exquisite little sculptures. That was a hybrid between watches, mechanical, and I believe it was insects or bees. It just stirred a bit of a passion for me to go back and just revisit what I was doing. I was really just stepping away from portraits at that time. And I started drawing the first watch, and it was purely a passion project at the beginning. And I just absolutely loved it. I felt like it really aligned with what I was doing, with the technical aspect that I've been doing for a long time now, and a little bit of the artistic part from the portraits, because I do have a style that goes towards hyperrealism, obviously, like realism and kind of the old masters. And to go back and thank some of the people, it was the very first person that really immersed me into the watch industry was Angelo Sara. He was is with IWC on the North American region, I believe, and we worked on a few projects together and collaborating on that. And it was a very different experience, because before I was working with directly with collectors only, so it was very personal pieces. These were pieces that were more in tune with brands and kind of their goals, and that was very eye-opening for me for the industry. I forever be grateful for kind of those opportunities introducing me into that world. And most recently, it's been a few years now, but it's a continued collaboration. Felipe Pikulik has been really immersed me into the watch industry, learning a lot about it, and just kind of seeing him, how he approaches a brand and like building a brand and understanding what goes behind, designing a watch and all those little aspects that I was never part of before. Like I drew these out of passion. I love bringing the details into a scale that you don't normally see, but that's been the journey so far.
Cool. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm usually not going to answer the question that I'm asking, but I just wanted to give a shout out. So I'm going to answer my own question. When I first applied for the position at Hamilton, actually I was in different industry as well, and I was in the liquor industry. And then when I first came to Canada, working with Belvedere, when I came first to Canada as a new immigrant, I was doing all the jobs as well, trying to pay the bills, I guess, in the beginning, the first few years. And then I slowly, grow a little bit. And then I remember when I applied for the Hamilton position, which is the sales national position that I first got. When I first applied, I applied with a resume and I sent the information. And after 2 weeks, I didn't hear anything. And then after, I saw that the same company had another position, which was the coordinator position, so a little bit more junior. Even though I always like to say that during my time at Swatch Group, when I was the salesperson, the manager person, or the brand person, the actually sales coordinator was, I called the brain of the brand and the skeleton of the brand, because without them, I couldn't do anything, and nobody, I believe, can do anything without their team. So that's what I want to say. But the person that I wanted to give a quick shout out is that what I did is I hired somebody to redo my resume, and I applied for the coordination position. And then sure enough, the next day, the HR person at Swatch Group, and I will give her a name, Nina Lee, which is in the industry, and I'm sure Caroline remember Nina because she's an amazing individual. She called me and she's like, "Hey Thomas, I love your resume," and we talk. But I believe with your experience that you have, you might be qualified for the other position. And I was like, "Oh, did you not receive my resume?" And so she's like, "Please, I need to close this opening, but send your resume updated for the sales position, and then come to the office and we'll chat." And I just wanted to give a shout out, because if she didn't give me this opportunity and to read my personality, I guess I would never be here talking to you. So it's really something that was very important for me to tell. And also, as I mentioned earlier, a little thank you as well to Caroline. She obviously gave the opportunity for a lot of people here on this call and others.
I like to hire people who don't come from the industry, as you've noticed.
Yeah,
People who
clearly.
stay. And I have to say, one thing is, people who I hire tend to stay. I don't
Yes.
know, Sharon, you remember.
Oh, I
never
do.
hired somebody who stayed just 1 year or two. Sometimes it took me a long time to fill a position. Before I found Sharon, it took me a long time. I think my HR was starting to bang her head against the walls because after 12 or 15 interviews, I was like, nope, no, I don't want that. And I think it's all
really
about,
true. Yeah.
it's about hiring the right people in the industry. You know, people often ask me, oh, did you push a lot of women, more women? I always said no. I mean, I'll give a chance to everyone, but I would have hired men or women, whoever was the most adequate to the position. And as I like to say, I always hired by what I call the fit. If the person fit, a lot of things you can learn, but the fit you cannot change. If it doesn't fit, it's a big issue. But I'm really sorry that I have to leave. It's a really great discussion. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm in an architect's office and they're making signs that they need the room. So I have all the fancy things to choose here, and I think they need to come in and use this. But I'll catch up with most of you another time. That'll be great. So sorry again, I have to run out. But
no
bye.
problem. I apologize. I have a few more questions, but
Bye,
it's okay.
Caroline.
Yeah, you
We'll
can
try
continue. Bye.
to go quick. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So, ladies, if you have 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, okay, perfect. So I just had a quick question because obviously you guys were in the industry and then you're no longer in the industry, and I just wanted to see a little bit of if there is anything that is similar with what you do now compared to what you did before, and is there anything that you're missing or that you're learning? You know, sometimes when you are in a room of people and they are from different industries, you can take ideas from this person and say, oh, I love that, and I never heard that from my industry. Why don't I do it? So basically, is there anything that inspire you in the journey that you do now, or that you learn now that you didn't see before? Or I know it's a little bit different question.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in on that one. I think for me there is a common thread to everything that I've done, which is the artisanal part. I think the watch industry comes from an artisanal craftsmanship originally. Some brands made it like an empire and kind of lost a bit of this artisanal side, but I think the core value of the watch industry is there. Today, so
Oh,
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
sorry, I had a phone call. Can you hear me?
yes, we do. Perfect.
Oh, I'm stuck. Can you hear me? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
okay. Sorry, I got a phone call incoming. So in artisanal, there is the word art, and I think that's the common thread for me that has remained stable through my career, whether it was in the watch industry or in jewelry industry or today in what I do. And I think the passion also that has been like something very strong through the different projects that I've been working on. Everyone is very passionate. There is always people put their heart into what they do.
Yeah. I think the passion is what really.
I can't hear you anymore, so I'm
You don't
completely.
hear me? Oh, okay. But we hear you.
Okay.
So I don't know. But yeah, I mentioned the passion is definitely something that. Oh, okay, she might come back. That really inspire people, right? So Sharon, do you have a quick thoughts about it?
I didn't hear the question because that's when I got kicked out.
Oh, okay. The
What was
question was just, is there anything that you see that are similar between the watch industry and where you are today? And is there anything that you think you maybe miss where you were there, or that you wish was that now you know about?
Interesting. Well, I went from the watch. Yeah, it is. I was at the watch industry. I was with the Swatch Group.
Yeah.
With the Kering Group.
Yeah.
And then also Richemont. So with the three of the four largest luxury groups, Richemont was at Montblanc, and they do have watches, and we did that.
Yeah.
The cultural difference was shocking between these three groups. I mean, really big difference,
Okay.
you know. And from there, I went to the home sector, where people are also very passionate about the product.
Okay.
So I think I agree that the passion is definitely important. When I joined the watch industry, there were very few women. That Caroline had the position she did was pretty amazing, actually, because it was a very male-dominated situation.
Okay.
That evolved, you know, but that is something that I thought was very interesting. And watches, I mean, you know, what's different is it touches your skin, and you look at it how many times a day. So there is a connection to the product that you don't necessarily have with other things you may be involved with. And I think that is an important why people get so passionate, why people become collectors. Anything that touches your skin all day long and you look at it every 20 minutes or whatever is of interest.
I totally get it, and I'm coming back on your comment. Is a lot of people ask me, are you passionate about watches? Are you know, you've been in the industry for 15 years or 16 years or whatever it is? And I always say, for me, it's not the actual product, so the object. For me, it's the story behind. The story behind of when I purchased it or when I got it as a gift. My wedding day, the day that my son was born, and I have his watch when he's going to turn 18 that I never wear. Or, you know, there's things like that. Is that, but or also the story of the people behind. Like here, we're talking about, you know, us individual, but also, you know, the watchmakers, the designers. How did an idea come up? You know, this is what really I'm passionate about. And so that's exactly what you said. And I was very pleased when I read your comments and questions. And Sharon, we don't have, but please, I can send you the question, and I would love for you to contribute if you can. Because it's the ongoing piece. It's not because today is International Women's Day that is published and that's it. For me, you know, if you have you or somebody else that want to you know, share with the world their thoughts about the question that I'm asking, I would love that. That's the whole idea. And so that's why. So I was very, very pleased to see that everybody that commented, they all mentioned. For me, it's really a time machine. It's a way to stop time. And you know, even in the morning, I like my connection of joining, you know, taking an automatic watch and rewinding and just taking 30 seconds of my day early in the morning before the craziness of my kids running around, getting ready for school and all that. And just like have this connection and like, okay, this is the watch that my dad gave me. Or this is whatever it is, you know. I love that. I love that.
I think Patek Philippe had the best line ever, that you never really own a watch, you just take care of it for the next generation.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, of all the advertising in the entire industry, that one,
they nailed it.
Yeah.
Right?
They absolutely,
yeah.
I think to Sharon's point with the male dominance in the industry, I think that's also why people are so passionate about it also, is because originally it was a very male-dominated industry, and this is the only piece of jewelry, I would say, that a man can really brag about. I mean, women, we have handbag, we have earrings, we have necklaces, we have so many other things that we can, you know, we can cherish, we can pass along to our daughters, or like we have a story to hold from that piece. But I think the watch is the most universal piece for men and women, unisex, that we can both share a story. And I think that's contributing to this charisma that the watch industry is holding.
To her point, I have an admission, a confession.
Yeah.
Having come from the watch industry, you know, when you sit down at a conference table, or you go to dinner with someone, to, like as she just said, for men, the only accessory really is that, and their belt maybe, and their shoes, but yeah. And I would always look around and see what watch they wore. And you get to be a little prejudiced because of that. And I'm guilty of that to this day. You know, you meet someone, and I find myself looking to see what watch he wears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's in every industry. Like when I mentioned I was in the liquor business before, and the first thing that I go when I go out is, okay, what this guy are drinking, or you know. And
Okay,
then,
same thing. Yeah.
and when I started in the watch industry and I go watch a movie, I'm like, okay, what is the watch that this guy's wearing? You know, that's
That's true.
coming back.
Yeah.
So, and Cynthia, I don't want you to feel left alone
Mhm.
and left out on this question. I don't know if you have were you, and again, I'm learning from each other. Were you always in drawing and an artist, or did you go to a different path and then came to this path after?
No, drawing has always been integral to kind of what I was doing. I still have an interior design practice here, so I do feel I agree with the ladies when they're saying that the passion does come true, and it's usually about the story. And it's funny you mentioned, because in my interior design practice we have a tagline, and it's "Let it unfold," and it's always been kind of talking about that personal connection that you have with your home, with your space. And I feel like that also applies to the watch industry as well, because the majority of drawings that I've done and talking to collectors and all the pieces that I have drawn over the years, it's never been about, yes, I absolutely love this piece because of all the mechanical aspects of it and the craftsmanship. It has always come with a personal story, and it has always been connected to a personal event. Is that I've done drawings of pieces that reminded people of wedding anniversaries, of their engagement, of a birth of a son, and it's always been connected to that personal connection that we have with the piece. So I do feel like I see the similarities with architecture and interior design, because we do build homes that they're not for anybody else. They're for ourselves. They connect with us in ways that other things I think can't connect.
Yeah.
And to echo Sharon's point, like having it on your wrist, I think that's an extra added connection to it.
And that you can travel with it, and you can go to places.
Exactly. It's just as you have like a certain piece of jewelry that you never take off, right? Or that reminds you of something. It's a special connection. I think that watches do that for us. And I do love that aspect about it.
Okay, so a quick question, and I know you guys are very busy, even though Saturday, so hopefully you're not that busy today, but we never know with family and other obligation. Just two quick, actually not too quick, but because being International Women's Day, and the question really is not really, it's about our industry, but also overall. Sharon, earlier you mentioned when you first joined, Caroline obviously had the position that she had, but you didn't see a lot of ladies on the board and and on the place. Where do you think we are now, and what do you think we should do as a society to make it potentially a little bit better in the future? I know it's a tough question. Oh, it can be a 5 hours answer. So
that's not a 2-minute answer.
let's not write the.
It's really not.
But or maybe just on a personal, on a personal level. Is that?
I think there's progress for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And whether it be leadership or any position, there's definitely progress. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the entire world has advanced on that topic. At least until last month. So we sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I feel you.
I don't think we can go this way, because that will be a 10 years conversation.
It's very tempting, but we will not.
No. So I think there's progress, to answer your question shortly. I do have to leave in a couple minutes. So
no problem. I have one more, and then
me too. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any thoughts, Cynthia? No. Okay, we pass. No
I just want to say that I love what Cynthiana is doing, because I've been checking her Instagram account actually, and she is extremely talented. So I just wanted to drop that to Cynthiana.
I can take a look when we hang up.
And be an artist. I would love for you to be like, maybe we can create a pop-up gallery or something. That would be amazing.
Yeah. There is definitely something to do there, but congrats.
Okay, now let's close. Last question. What can we wish you for the near future? Can be personal, can be business, can be, what what can I wish you, or what can we wish you for the, what are your goals, or what do you want to achieve, or what can we wish you for the near future?
My God, I just think that, I mean, personally, I'm trying to survive what's going on in the world right now. So I would just say
peace.
peace. Exactly. For me, it's just like, let's pray for our kids and grandkids and just make sure that we're okay through this transition.
Okay.
Personally, that's how I feel.
That's okay. Very politically correct. That's good. No problem. But it can be, you know, I want to learn Spanish, so you know, it doesn't have to be. Sharon, Cinziana, just last words.
Well, for me, the same. You know, I just I like to stay. Now I have the option of staying busy and engaged with things that I really want to do.
Yeah.
I'm on the board of the Refugee Assistance Program. I do a lot of, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I want the peace the same, and also to use my time and energy. At this point in my life, I have that luxury of being able to do it only with things I really want to do.
Yeah. Good.
So that's
That's amazing. And be a grandma.
Yeah, well, that too.
That's perfect. And Cinziana.
To echo the ladies in terms of, you know, we do live in a crazy world right now, so a little bit of a peace, whether inner and outer peace, it's very welcome.
Okay.
Other than that, definitely on my end, just trying to, you know, focus on and niche down on the things that I'm doing, and kind of just explore more in terms of my artistic side. I've said that before, this year it's all about exploration and kind of trying to get out of my comfort zone as well. So and thank you for opportunities like this, you know, connecting with the great people and networking, kind of just hearing everyone's story is always inspirational.
Okay.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
No problem. But listen, thank you. I know you have to go, but
Thank you, Thomas.
That's basically what we can do, is we can just try to be positive and move forward and try to give a better you know, for the future, for the generation, so, and do our little thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, bye. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Cinziana. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day. Ciao. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I had a blast. And thank you for everybody that participated, and also thank you for everybody that joined us and watched the video today. I really appreciate you being here and supporting the vision. Thank you so much, guys. Happy International Women's Day for everybody.